One of the longest and most loved franchises of the modern gaming era is Ubisoft's Assassin's Creed historical stealth 'em up. After a 3-year hiatus following the Viking invasion in Valhalla at the launch of the current generation, the team have returned to its roots with a soft reboot of sorts in Mirage. With cross-gen still holding on tightly, do we need to cross our fingers and swords for this to make the cut? From a visuals and technical perspective, this latest title has gone for a less is more approach. Powered by the latest iteration of the Anvil engine, it still looks stunning, often due to the myriad of features it sports that are still not commonplace in all games and engines. Real-time lighting systems that incorporate time of day, global illumination, bounce of light, dense cities, vast landscape, huge vistas with rich and colourful flora and fauna, and that irradiance bounce uses image-based lighting which enables darkness and self-occlusion to give way to sun streaming in, as you see here, in an orange glow from the sand and bricks to illuminate the characters and walls with its soft hues. Something present in the engine since Assassin's Creed Unity. Now, geometry-based water physics, varied NPC and enemy AI with a deep combat system are all long staples of the game engine and games before now. But this one has been bolstered further here with a reactive city, including a notoriety system, a broader and more engaged reliance on stealth, and a return to the core parkour and shadow lurking we all love from that 2007 original.
Hey, that's your face on the poster!
The bustling city of Baghdad and its tight streets look authentic, from sandstone buildings, looming palm trees bathed with dense fog volumes and crepuscular rays obscuring long views, mixed with atmospheric scattering, sandstorms, a day and night cycle, and the same PBR-based materials and packed clutter across each room and location still impress. The NPC count and world clutter is also high, at least on the current generation, and mixed with the real-time and pre-rendered cinematics, it stands up to previous entries in the series. Some small updates came in Valhalla, such as per pixel motion blur, which enhanced the action, more beneficial in the 30 FPS mode. However, the basis of the engine is still firmly rooted in its last and largest technical leap in the still sumptuous looking Assassin's Creed Unity.
You seem to have caused quite a commotion.
Well, what can I say? You were always a bad influence.
Oh, you were a worse one.
And this leaves a stunning looking, rich and vibrant world that stands proud on the last generation consoles. But on the PlayStation 5, PC, Series X and Series S, the impact is not so flamboyant. This is mostly noticed in the character models, the facial details, the low poly count of some of the objects in the title, and more so on the hand-keyed and inverse kinematic animation system. The game has parkoured back into a single-player narrative-driven story and less open-world RPG focused, which is only a good thing for myself as a huge fan of the original games on the PS360 generation. But the technical strides made to the engine failed to impress as they once did. Special mention to the horrendous chromatic aberration, which sullies the image for me, specifically at lower resolution. Some low quality textures, material reactions, stiff physics and movement at times, alongside obvious glitches, can dull some of that Anvil shine, and many of them have been present for many titles before. It would be a lie to call this a bad looking game. Nothing could be further from the truth. But the great use of cinematography and storytelling remains high points, along with a vivid and lived-in world rendering, but the last generation roots are more evident now than ever, and it will not be a title that can stand close to the likes of the simply stunning Horizon Forbidden West, Jedi Survivor, or even Red Dead Redemption 2 on a pure graphics and technical perspective. That said, those last generation consoles do offer a great version of the game and highlight some big gaps to the current generation. The current generation, and of course PC, remains the best place to play, and this starts with resolution and performance. Dual modes are on offer for all three current gen machines, and quality maxes out at 30 FPS, but comes with a locked, from all my accounts, resolution of 3840 by 2160 on both PlayStation 5 and Series X. In addition to this, both consoles run identical visual settings and effects in both modes, meaning we have full feature parity here, a long since common staple for the Assassin's Creed titles since those 900p days of Unity on Xbox One and PS4, a classic of its day in many ways. The performance mode, entitled Frame Rate in the menu, does little to change the visual settings, with most appearing to be resolution related, such as shadow resolution, depth of field quality, and minor reductions in tree line and ambient occlusion, but it remains screen spaced, as do smaller shadows and reflections. The real difference is the frame rate now targets 60 FPS, and the cost of this is DRS is now definitely engaged. We see a counted high of close to 4K, 1944p, but a low of 1620p can occur on both machines in dense areas, giving us a circa 43% reduction on that maximum 2160p level. In reality, the reduction is relatively minor for double the frame rate, and due to the fact the game has to be restarted, due to the game render being reset, this is even harder to notice for the majority of players. In side by side, you can see a softer image resolve and slightly more flicker and ghosting than the quality mode, but it remains an obvious choice for me, and I'm sure many of you, to just stick the performance mode on and enjoy double the performance with 90% of the quality, which we can validate in the performance section. The Series S is almost a mirrored tale, only now we see lower settings on LOD, shadow quality, textures, and possibly ambient occlusion and SSR. But the biggest remains resolution. Quality mode appears to use DRS, with it most often at the same low of high frame rate mode 1620p, but a minor 20% scale to 1440p was counted. It still offers a clean and sharp image at the same 30 FPS maximum of the 4K quality mode, and the reduction on performance mode though is far more obvious. Less than half of quality's maximum reduced to 1080p, but DRS is enabled and gives us a counted low of 1600 by 900. Lower pixel density is mitigated though by the 2x frame rate increase it offers, but the image is more unstable and softer, and at 1080p or less can look quite muddy, compounded by that aggressive chromatic aberration, which continues to be an aberration in almost every game it's used in. I believe having an option to disable would benefit those last generation machines and the Series S in its performance mode. At these low pixel counts, it can obscure some beautiful moments with its image destroying obfuscation.
That is not at all what I said.
It is what I heard.
Such crowds. Something important must be happening.
Performance in the game is often GPU bound in many sections that are not swamped with heavy geometric draw and NPC counts. In the bigger cities, it can become CPU bound, and this can cause some mild tearing on both current gen Xbox consoles. It likely uses an adaptive VSync on PS5 also, but I found no errors in my tests where it tore. Using the Series X and PlayStation 5 comparison in some heavier sections of Baghdad, it holds a locked 60 FPS as you enter the circular city, and this is the majority of what you will see in this mode. Some mild tearing and dips whilst flying like an eagle can crop up on Series X, and slightly more single frame dips in the real-time cinematics that run at 60 FPS also in this mode, but the delta between them is less than 2% in the PlayStation 5's favour, and likely CPU related most of the time when they do.
Space we settle, all that's important is that our occupancy remains a secret.
We certainly have that here. Have you found anything helpful?
Nothing hinting at Ali's whereabouts.
Quality mode is rock solid on both consoles at 30 FPS and does have the sharper image quality and slightly better effects, which is really your choice on which you prefer. Again, I commend the team for adding these options. From battles, cutscenes, now also 30 FPS, and exploration, I could not find any issues here. So the choice between these modes comes down to your personal preference of frame rate or image quality. As the high frame rate mode is all but locked at 60 FPS on both machines, this is an almost perfect two modes to pick from, and it is here that those cross-generation basis of the title really delivers the best launch version of an Assassin's Creed game on consoles I've ever played, and I've played them all. Series S is largely the same story in both modes, and quality being fully locked at 30 FPS and offers the superior image quality but here the choice is more obvious as the IQ in the quality mode is a good deal cleaner than the performance mode, which also offers a very stable 60 FPS readout across my tested sections. This includes battles, flying and more, with the big change over the Series X and PlayStation 5 high frame rate mode being that cutscenes still run at 30 FPS here, but are limited to the 1080p maximum resolution, meaning they are slightly worse looking than the quality mode and do not gain double the performance, which is my only niggle, but understandable as they are likely GPU bound on the S. Aside this, we can see the single frame rate drops and tearing as the Series X, just a little more frequent, but in reality the Series S offers an excellent version of the game with dual modes and a commendable and solid 60 FPS rate. That means you still get the lion's share of those bigger machines.
تجعلني أتطرق إلى الحديث عن أولئك. Batman, loose here! Killer! Call the bot! Down with you!
تبا.
Last gen is not quite as stable though, not a surprise. With no modes on the base or premium consoles, we see the Pro come out with a potentially DRS enabled 1440p counted high, but it could drop lower than that at certain points when GPU bound. Aside this though, the image is very sharp and clean, and compared to the Series S quality mode, it's not that far removed, although I'm still not a fan of that chromatic aberration. The main hit are textures, increased pop-in, reduced LOD and NPCs, and clutter being the sacrifices made on these machines to hit a largely locked 30 FPS. And also of note, use a decent hard drive as you can exacerbate pop-in and loading issues if you have a very slow hard drive or run it from a USB. The areas of real-time cutscenes with depth of field can cause a few drop frames, but by and large this is a great 30 FPS presentation of the game and delivers almost all of the same visual splendor and Arabian adventure of the current gen machines. PS4 and Xbox One are next, and here the gaps can be biggest. Settings are aligned to the Pro with reductions in all areas of shadows, AO, LOD, NPC, and all resolution related effects including texture quality and filtering. Resolution is also hit with both using DRS. PS4 scales from 1080p to a counted 900p low, and Xbox One tops out at 900p but hits a low of 1120 by 630. Which does severely impact the image quality, and that dreaded CA can overpower the screen at times when it drops this low. Both look soft, and this has been true of all Assassin's Creed titles since the last gen began, but in reality it's here that the base design and scope of the game is reflected, with it looking a little muddier, softer, but equally impressive version of those current gen machines. Performance is not saved by these cuts though, with both consoles often dropping frames in action, and CPU is likely the biggest reason, with heavy NPC areas causing some dips into the mid-20s on both. In addition, we can see GPU demands going beyond the DRS range, with some cutscenes and action segments also dipping to similar levels. It's never Unity level bad back in the day, but do expect an inconsistent and sub 30 FPS experience often in the game, with a far noisier image quality, low texture quality, more pop-in, and sub HD image on both machines. But the PlayStation 4 does offer a decent, if not groundbreaking, advantage over the Xbox One, but both are now starting to look beyond their useful years.
Only 3 crates remain last time I checked the ledger.
Give their handlers until tomorrow evening.
Assassin's Creed Mirage is a strong return to the series' roots, no more evident in the fact that it looks and runs so well on 10+ year old hardware. Some more increases for current generation hardware would have helped, Loading is significantly faster than the 1+ minute loads of the last gen machines, but it can still take 15 to 20 seconds, and although very fast, is not pushing the speeds we have been enjoying on other titles. The visual upgrades and 60 FPS modes are very welcome, particularly so in the Series S, but they are not generationally different and will likely leave many feeling satisfied by the technical and artistic quality on offer, but not blown away. It offers nothing drastically different or new over previous entries, and on the core engine and technology front, that is equally as true. However, the engine was ahead of its time in 2014, and many others have had to play catch-up. In 2023, Mirage is a reflection of the series' former glory with an iterative update over Origins, Valhalla, et al., but stands out as a great last generation game that has maximised the potential but leaves current generation owners' hardware an undiscovered treasure. And that's it for all things Pixels, performance and stabbing people in the throat related. If you like what we do here on IGN Performance Reviews, then keep it IGN, and we'll catch you on the next one.